education. Unfortunately, that's no longer the case. Despite spending $1,800 more per student than the national average, California now ranks 37th in academic achievement for K through 12 students. Let me repeat that. We are 37th out of 50 for academic achievement for K through 12 students. That's spending $25,000 per student in our public education education system. Again, $1,800 more than the national average. Too many students are struggling to meet even the minimal education standards, a problem that can impact their entire future. We need bold action to give every child the greatest opportunity for upward mobility and success. Apologize. That's why that we're here today to give parents and students real options in education. The sad reality is that students are forced to attend underperforming schools simply because of their zip code. Instead, we should be giving students and every child the best education opportunity possible, no matter where they live. We know that school choice works. Nationwide, we've seen the results. Today, 29 states, including Washington, D.C., have private school choice programs. The truth is that when given choices, Black and Hispanic students from poor neighborhoods that are able to attend alternative schools outperform their counterparts in public traditional schools. That's a big impact. Students and statistics show that 52% of the top high schools for the low-income Latino students are charter schools. These schools that are separate from the public education system. 80% of top public middle schools for low-income Black students in math are charter schools. That means that these individuals who have educational choice get better academic outcomes and better upward mobility. These students have the most to gain from this school choice bill. When trapped in low-performing schools just because of their zip codes and where they live, the expectations are very low. When given a choice to attend alternative schools tailored to the students' needs, they thrive. The Education Flex account that we're introducing today will offer $8,000 for tuition for educational expenses. It also provides $16,000 for those students with special needs. California has to embrace a proven solution. It's time to empower families and parents, not bureaucracies, and it's time to let the money follow the child. Here today to support this bill, I'm pleased to introduce my colleague, Senator Ochoa Bogue from Yucaipa, who is the first Republican elected to the California State Senate. She's made education a top priority of her learning experience from a teacher, a school board member, and the vice chair of Senate Education Committee, and she works tirelessly to advance and enhance educational opportunities for all students. Please welcome Senator Ochoa Bogue.
Thank you, Senator Grove, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, and I really want to thank the parents who made the effort to make it to this morning's press conference. I'm Senator Rosalicia Ochoa Bogue, and I represent District 19. I'm sorry, I'm reading my Spanish once. Here we go. I support this measure so that families who have spoken in our committees and those who can't be here today have a voice. Their voices have pleaded for increased educational opportunities to meet their children. And I would even say voice. They have pleaded to have choices. For too long, we forced kids into schools based on zip codes, not potential, not need for opportunity. California spends more per student than most states, yet too many, especially students of color and those with special needs, are left behind. This bill gives parents real choice. It lets funding follow the student, allows families to choose the school, public, private, or religious, that meets their child's need. No child should be trapped in a system that doesn't allow them to reach their potential. This measure gives families the power to choose what's best. I urge your support. Buenos días. Soy la senadora Rosilicie Ochoa Bog y soy representante del Distrito 19 del Senado. También soy miembro del Comité de Educación en el Senado. Apoyo esta propuesta para que las familias que han hablado en nuestros comités y las que no pudieron estar aquí hoy tengan voz. Ellos han pedido más oportunidades educativas para sus hijos. Por mucho tiempo hemos obligado a los niños a ir a las escuelas según su código postal y no según su potencial o las oportunidades o necesidades que tengan. California gasta más por estudiante que muchos otros estados hoy, pero aún así muchos, especialmente estudiantes de color y con necesidades especiales, se quedan atrás. Este proyecto de ley les da a los padres una verdadera opción. Permite que el dinero siga al estudiante y que las familias elijan la escuela pública, privada o religiosa que mejor les sirva. Ningún niño debe quedarse atrapado en un sistema que no le permita alcanzar su potencial. Esta medida le da a cada familia el poder de escoger lo que mejor quede a sus hijos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí y gracias por la oportunidad.
Next, I would like to give Stan Ellis, a newly elected Assembly member from the Central Valley, business entrepreneur, grandfather, and father, to share a few words.
Thank you, Senators. Great job. I'd like to, I'm Stan Ellis from the Bakersfield and represent 32nd District. I'd like to say just one thing. This SB 64 puts education back in the hands of parents where it should belong. End of story. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Deacon John Wilson, the Director of the Education Enrichment Program in West Los Angeles Church, known for his passionate commitment to mentoring children in diverse backgrounds across Los Angeles, helping them overcome educational and social barriers. Please welcome Deacon John Wilson.
Absolutely. I've been fighting for it for years. It's really imperative now coming post-pandemic. Our black students are so far behind in math, but yet society says we want more blacks and Hispanics in STEM, but we're not giving them what they need. We're fighting over algebra in 8th grade and algebra in 9th grade and algebra 2 and all the while our black students left. Now let's try something different. What do you say? Let's get these students a chance, like all students should have the same chance to succeed, and bringing parent choice back is the way forward now, which will place California where other states are indeed. Thank you very much.
Next, I have a colleague from Santa Clarita, Senator Suzette Valadares Martinez, who has drawn her experiences as a former child care center manager, executive director of the Southern California Autism Speaks, and a new member of our caucus.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Senator Suzette Valadares from District 23, and I want to thank you guys for being here this morning. And I am a proud voice for our kids and for choice, school choice. The California dream starts with a good education and a good job. But if kids can't read or write, that dream becomes a nightmare. As a mom of a smarty and a sassy 7-year-old girl who learns in her own very creative and emotional way, I know that a one-size-fits-all education doesn't work. Every child deserves an environment that meets them where they are. California's public school enrollment has plummeted by over 300,000 students, and it's on track to lose nearly 500,000 more by 2032. Families are abandoning schools that fail to inspire or support their children. Despite shelling out over $128 billion on education each year, our test scores are abysmal. Even Mississippi, yes, Mississippi is outpacing us in 4th grade reading statistics. They use proven science-based reading plans that actually work, aka phonics, something that our so-called California education experts have completely overlooked. We're pouring billions into a system that leaves children behind, forcing them into schools based solely on their zip code. The issue isn't funding, it's politics. The majority party in charge in our capital panders to the teachers' unions instead of fighting for real science-based solutions that empower our kids. Across the nation, more than 30 state legislatures are considering bills that give parents real control over their children's education. Programs in New Hampshire, Idaho, Wisconsin are already proving when families have choices, whether it's earning a high school credits through local experts, accessing funds for advanced coursework, or transferring to better schools, students thrive. For many families and every family in California, it's time to put students first, which is why I support SB 64. Thank you.
Cut her a little slack. There's thousands of bills that we have to pay attention to. Thank you. Let me go to next. I apologize. Oh, next I want to acknowledge that Rocky Rhodes from the City Council of Simi Valley is here as well, even though he's not speaking. Please make sure that he's acknowledged. Mom Army, City Council, and other individuals from school boards are here as well. And I just want to thank them for participating on this important issue. I'd like to welcome William Roosh. He's a passionate educator based in Los Angeles with nearly 20 years of experience teaching civics at for high school students across the city's diverse communities. Outside of the classroom, he hosts the Cylinder Radio podcast and recently launched the Pedadocs online platform, which teaches students critical thinking skills, which we desperately need. Please welcome William to this podium.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Excuse me. I taught school. I've been a classroom teacher for nearly 18 years in both public and private institutions. And having been in both, I can see the differences. This is my world. The class size when I was in public school was 48 students. It was me and 48 students. When I transferred over to a private school, that number dropped to 20. When I had 48 students in the class, the best and brightest were stifled because of the behavioral issues, and just my bandwidth was stretched so much. It's very important that the best and brightest from any community is able to thrive, and I watched as these students got very, very frustrated with their classmates, and yet the families had nowhere else to go because they couldn't afford to send them to a better school. I like to think about this like a grocery store, because when I taught in East LA, it was essentially a food desert, and a lot of the families didn't have access to the best food and the best grocery stores. But imagine the school system being like that, where they would say, can I go to the Whole Foods that's a couple of miles away? No, you have to go to the grocery stores in your community. This is the situation that we're in. There's a better school that's just right down there. Can I send my kid to that? No, you have to go to this school. You have to stay in this environment. And I think that we understand that competition is good. I teach economics. We know that competition is good, and it builds the best products, and yet the education system is not built in a competition model. With the increase of charters, with private schools, then there becomes a competition to bring in the best educators and the best systems so that we have the best results for those students. And SB 64, bless you, SB 64 is a way to get that for the students. $8,000 per student is a game changer for so many families. $16,000 for a family with a special needs child opens up so many opportunities to give support to that child. Personally, as a father of three sons, 10, 8, and 3 years old, my oldest was in first grade in the spring of 2022, and he went to a public LAUSD school. In the spring of 2022, he was masked and social distanced during recess. When I would ask, why is this happening, they just didn't have an answer for me. So we decided to pull my sons out, and we went to a Christian private school that was close to our home. And the tuition is $7,500 a year. Now, times 3 kids, I don't know if you know this, but teachers don't make a boatload of money. That is quite a strain on my family. And this bill would cover all of that tuition for my sons. And the school that they're at now has 6 recesses. So they have a recess, and then they go to school, and then they have a recess, and they go to school, and my kids are thriving there. I talk to parents all the time. Over the years, I've talked to parents who work overtime so that they can send their child to a better school. Okay, this is quite a strain. They pull away from crucial time at home to connect with their kids so that they can work, because it's so important to send them to the best educational institution. Students who stay in public schools have more resources. I'm sorry, students who stay in public schools will have more resources because the class sizes will get smaller as competition grows. So this idea that the students who are staying at public schools are going to be losing their funding and they're not going to get support, it will actually increase that because the bandwidth and the strain on these schools would become less. Giving opportunities to families who wouldn't typically have them shouldn't be a polarized issue. This is just something that we should understand, that the best schools should not be just relegated to the wealthy. And we need to understand, I have had students that were from very tough institutions, or very tough environments, who were brilliant, but they didn't have the opportunities to really exercise their muscles and showcase their brilliance. SB 64 is about bringing awareness, and Center Grove is actively seeking solutions to a very real problem in education. The educational class divide is very real, and I believe that this seeks to rectify that. So I am very supportive, given my background and experiences, I'm very supportive of educational choice, and I think it's really wonderful that we're here talking about this right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, William. Last, I'd like to welcome my incredible bill sponsor, Lance Christensen, the Senior Fellow at California Policy Center and President of California Policy Partners with over 20 years of public policy experience. And today, California families demand charter school choice. Lance, a 7th-generation Californian, a husband, a father, has dedicated to advocate for empowering parents for improving education across all spectrums.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate your steadfast leadership on this issue. I ran for superintendent of public instruction in 2022, mostly because my 5 kids, all who are in the public school system in Sacramento, were not being given the opportunities to succeed. California is a place of pioneers. It's a place of explorers. It's a place of opportunity. And in 1849, when the founders of the state wrote the state constitution, they allowed for the ability to have common or public schools, but didn't say it had to be in brick buildings paid by the government. This bill, SB 64, would allow for monies that go to education and to children to follow those children. This is a basic principle. It allows parents to make the best decisions for their children that they can, and we're looking forward to the state Senate supporting this bill today. Thank you very much.
Just looking around for other legislators that might be here. I don't see them, so we'll move on, and I'm going to thank you all for being here, and if you have questions, we will do our best to answer them. Yes, ma'am. So the public school system in California roughly gets $25,000 per student, $1,800 above the national average, and we still are declining in numbers in educational opportunities and educational outcomes. So investing more money is not the answer. What's the answer is, what we believe is allowing school choice so that parents can use those resources to have their kids have upward mobility and the best education outcomes possible. When you think that, I often get the question that we're taking public funds. These parents are taxpayers too. They pay taxes in order for their child to get educated. If you take a $25,000 per student rate and you allow $8,000 to follow the student, and that school is not educating those students anymore in the public school system, $17,000 of that dollar still remains in the public school system when they're not required to educate that child, but the parent has made a choice to give them a better opportunity for learning. So I think that's a false to believe that we're taking money from the public school systems.
Another question.
Yes.
I know President Trump signed an executive order in January, kind of saying that his policy was going to be in line and they were going to be freeing up funds for more school choice. Would something like this be assisted or complemented by federal funding, or how would it be in line with President Trump's executive order?
So what's going on in the federal government is similar, but not to what we're doing here today. We're just asking that $8,000 follow the student to free up some of the resources. We have single parents out there working 2 and 3 jobs to help pay for educational opportunities for their child because they know they are trapped in an education system that labels them by their zip code. You've heard stories. You talk to Deacon Johnson. If you talk to Deacon Johnson, he can tell you story and story about parents that are struggling to make sure that their kid gets the best opportunity possible. The education system in California has declined, even though we've invested more money. And this is just an opportunity to give parents a choice in their child's education. When you look at kids in special education, I heard a story of an autistic child that was constantly in trouble in the public school system because he tended to jump up and down and turn around and knock over chairs. They put him in a private education system, and he gave him his, now he builds robots and all these things because that's the way his mind works. But he does it when he throws all the pieces on the ground, he turns around, he jumps up and down, and he puts things together. Some kids just don't function well in the traditional public school system, and all we are doing is giving parents a choice. So the question is on the ballot measure. There is a ballot measure because it shows that higher numbers of parents and Californians and across the United States support school choice. If the ballot measure passes, that's going to be absolutely wonderful. In the meantime, we're working on getting this bill passed just in case. One more time. I'm sorry, sir. Antonio. Yes.
So if you take a good quality teacher from 48 students and put them in to 20, how would that affect that classroom? You want to keep a balance of educators. That's what I'm saying. How would you say?
So my understanding is that most teachers in the public school system are part of the California Teachers Association and have benefits beyond what would be offered in some private school institutions. I think that teachers that have a heart for learning and a heart for teaching kids, I think it frees them up. It gives them an opportunity to be more impactful to the students that they're serving. If they start out with 40 students in a classroom and they go down to 35, then they have the opportunity to invest more in those 35 students. The biggest issue that we found in the numbers that we've shown is if we take our black and brown communities and we put them in alternative charter school or private funding schools where parents are using their dollars, working extra hours to be able to pay for their education, they thrive and outperform their counterparts. This is not a new idea. It's in 29 states across the nation, and the data is showing that it's working. Yes, 29 other states have a model similar to this. 18 states have the exact model we're producing today. Yes.
I just might say it's
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to say it's really important to note that we have declining enrollment in California, so we're actually spending more money per pupil than we ever have, yet our outcomes are worse. So there's enough money. This isn't a money problem, it's a political problem in the building.
Right.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you guys for being here today. We really appreciate it. Please show up to the committee room at 9 o'clock, and let's hope this works and that the legislators in the building behind me will take a chance on an opportunity to give parents a choice in their child's education.